This is the New York City FC Pregame Live. Tonight, New York City head to the West Coast to take on LAFC. And now, here are your hosts, Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
And directly to the right of the 3252, that are the now infamous MLS supporters here at LAFC BMO Stadium, where LAFC will play host to the New York City Football Club Week 2 in Major League Soccer. All right, let's go to us now. There's Matty Lawrence. I'm Glenn Crooks. Great to have you with us here as we approach live commentary on the New York City FC Network. Our pregame show begins at 7:15 with the new gaffer, Pascal Janssen, ahead of the 10:15 Eastern, 7:15 local, 10:40 p.m. Eastern is the kickoff for tonight. As New York City, it's been back-to-back difficult road games. They earned the 2-2 draw last week against Inter Miami. Matty, we were there. For New York City, with the man advantage for a majority of the match, getting the go-ahead goal, but not being able to maintain that lead. And in the 10th minute of stoppage time, the 100th minute of the match, Segovia scores the equalizer. So and everyone surrounding the club said it felt like a loss, and certainly it did.
Yeah, look, before the game, you take the point, that's for certain. But when you play against 10 men for 83 minutes, which it was, 67 minutes of normal time, then another 16 minutes of additional time, you have to have the assumption that you can win, especially when you're 2-1 up in the 90th minute. It was players switching off. It wasn't just an individual, Glenn. It was multiple players switching off. Messi should have been fouled very early on in the move then. He should be tracked. It was just, as I say, a calamitous goal to concede so late on. And I think you could see it in the body language of the players and then in the eyes of the players when you had the good fortune to interview them a few days later. It did feel like a loss. Of course, it's a point, but it felt like a real kick in the teeth. And it would have, in that dressing room after the game, felt like a loss, that's for certain. I've been in those situations many a time, Ben.
Yeah.
And it hurts. It truly hurts mentally, psychologically. And then also, obviously, you're away from home. You've got to get on a bus to get to the airport, and then you've got to fly home. Then now you're all the way over here to LAFC, as you said. Two incredible. It couldn't get any harder to start off with. Let's put it that way. Away into Miami, the best team in the league last year, Supporters' Shield winners. And also LAFC, Western Conference champions.
Best team in the West.
Yeah. Best team in the West. Yeah. Doesn't get any harder than that. So look.
And they are, since their inception in 2018 when they joined the league, LAFC, they have the best home record, the most number of points at home in Major League Soccer.
Yes, they're very good at home. They won 11 games at home last season, and I think it was 10 games at home the season before that. They lose very, very few, that's for certain. But what they do, Glenn, is they do offer you a glimmer of hope because they do concede over a goal a game. Certainly last season, they conceded over a goal a game at home. Granted, they scored nearly 2 goals per game, so you've got to be very rigid defensively. But if you keep a clean sheet, which is very, very hard against this side, a side who have got the likes of Abobasi, Boanga, Giroud. We don't know exactly the starting lineup just yet. But look, this is a solid team. If you can keep them out, you will get chances at the other end.
LAFC playing host to New York City FC. So last night's game, let's focus on it a bit. And you're seeing the starting 11 for New York City. Agustin Ojeda, who started the opener against Miami, he will be on the bench at the start of tonight. And Monta Bakar is coming in as was experimented with, if you will, at the Coachella Invitational twice in games there. Both Bakar and Alonso Martinez joined together up top. Ojeda, part of the reason maybe he's on the bench is that he was away for a couple of days midweek getting his green card. So congratulations to Ojeda. Micha Ilinic earlier during preseason got his green card. So nice for the players, but also nice for the club as they gain a couple of international roster spots.
And we've seen in the off-season teams paying between 50 and 100,000 of GAM to acquire an international roster spot. So if you can, get your players on a green card as early as
like
possible,
a freebie,
then
right?
it's great. It's a freebie.
Yeah.
And yes, look, we talked about the travelling away to Miami. Then Ojeda has to travel elsewhere, to sort out his green card. Then he has to come over to LA. Bakra is a decent replacement, that's for sure. I think Bakra is such a hard worker that if he maybe plays in the wider areas, which I assume he will, he can torment opposition fullbacks and then hopefully maybe provide a supply line to Alonso Martinez, who is really the only natural-born goal scorer in this squad at this moment in time.
And he got his first of the year last week. Yeah. We're going to watch and hear that in a moment. First, let's get the opening goal for New York City. It was right after Thomas Avalos was red carded. New York City was awarded a free kick. And here's how you heard it with myself and Matty, New York City FC Network.
It looks like it's going to be Morales. He plays it square, and the finish, Micha Ilinic! New York City with a wonderful set piece. As instead of taking the direct shot on goal, Maxi Morales played it wide right to Micha Ilinic. He took one touch to prepare and then slotted it past the keeper. And New York City has leveled the match. In the 26th minute, it's 1-1.
Set pieces win your games of football. 2 set pieces, 2 goals, one from the home side, one from the visiting side. This is a terrific finish. But again, this is all about Inter Miami just switching off. They leave Micha Ilinic all alone, totally unopposed, Glenn. Yes, it's a dynamite finish, but boy, is that sloppy from Inter Miami, as sloppy as it was from NYCFC in the opening few minutes when they couldn't defend a short corner. But Ilinic, what a composed finish, Glenn. I really love that one. Hard and low, across the goalkeeper, absolutely perfect. We've got a game in our hands now.
Game in our hands. That made a 1-1. We'll see Martinez go-ahead goal here in a moment. But you saw the supporters there at Chase Stadium, nearly 200 at Miami. We learned today that 110 supporters made their way to the West Coast, and they'll be in the far right corner. They're sort of in the shadows right now as they start to come in as well, if you're a New York City supporter, unfortunately, this is the only look we have for you right now, and those are the LAFC supporters. But it's a good traveling party.
It's
Matty?
A great traveling party. 110 people have traveled 5.5 hours by air. They've got to get to the airport the other side, got to get from the airport this side to their hotel, to the stadium as well. I think it's fantastic. And yeah, they're up there. It's section 217 there. It's not quite St James's Park for the away fans, where they're about half a mile up in the air. They've got a pretty good view there. And yeah, I think it's absolutely magnificent that many folk have come over here to support NYCFC. I really do. It's a credit to them, to the fans. Yeah.
And how about our view? This is really nice for us as well. Yeah. This is our vantage point. Now, we could also look to the right and see as well. And so it's auxiliary seating here at LAFC. It's a compact stadium, 22,000, and it's loud. And if you can, let me make it closer for you. If you haven't seen this field, look how close the supporters are. When Matt Freese is in that goal, he's going to hear a lot about his family and every other else thing they could come up with.
Yeah, look, we've got a wonderful view, as you say. Just a little bit earlier, we had the mariachi bands, sequins emblazoned all over them.
Right.
Now they've been replaced by the, obviously, Hugo Lloris is there in goal warming up. But yeah, we have got a first-class view. Sometimes it's nice to be up in a booth, but today it's absolutely wonderful to be surrounded by the crowd. We've got a cameraman just to our left as well. If he swivels hard to his right,
we'll
he's going to hit you
today.
in the head. Yeah. But look, this is for me the best ground in MLS. I know Cincinnati fans or Nashville fans or Austin fans will debate that and say, no, I've been here 2-3 times now. And for me, the stadium itself, the surrounding area, some of the suites we had the privilege to look into, and then, of course, the atmosphere here. This is the best in MLS for me.
Yeah, thanks to Seth Burton, communications director here with LAFC, for giving us the tour. Yeah, there are some. I'll post some pictures later of Matty Lawrence nearly jumping into a pool. There's a little. What would you call that? What was that? Up in the
bathing pool. If it had been a bit warm, I definitely would have gone in.
This is in the stadium where, in a drinking area, I guess you might say, or
it's the
a social
suite.
area, the tequila suite. Okay, well, you need a pool in the tequila suite. All right, well, New York City, so it's 1-1 at the half, and then they're up So they played 11 versus 10 from the 23-minute mark against Miami, which included 8 minutes of first half stoppage time, and unfortunately for New York City, 11 minutes of second half stoppage time. But here's the go-ahead goal, as you heard it on the New York City FC network from our friend Alonso Martinez, who's celebrating a contract extension this week as well.
Here's Jordi Alba, gives it right into Martinez. Martinez dribbles into the box, finishes. Jordi Alba, uncharacteristic, absolutely. He just turned towards his own goal and played it right to Alonso Martinez. They had the big shape. The center backs couldn't recover in time. Martinez dribbled into the area and with the right foot drilled it past Ustari. And New York City takes the 2-1 lead in the 55th minute. And wow, Jordi Alba.
It can happen to even the best of them, can't it? He did pick his head up and he did have a little look, but he'd already played the ball really once he took a look. But give credit for the finish, for keeping his composure, Alonso Martinez. He's not really been in this game, but been a big part of both goals.
Right.
Won the free kick, got the sending off for the first goal with Avilas, and then this one.
Nice description, Matty, and a nice finish. The first of what we would think would be many for Alonso Martinez, coming off his 16 regular goals, one in the playoffs in 2024. And then, of course, we don't want to belabor it. We've already discussed Jordi Alba quite a bit, but just inconceivable that he would just face his own goal and just not see Martinez.
Yeah, he was devastated, as well as any player would be, but even more somebody who's found the fame, the fortune, and won so many trophies, such a good footballer internationally for his national team, Spain, at Barcelona as well. To make an error like that, he just didn't pick his head up, he just didn't look, he just tried to roll it back to who he thought was there. We always say it, have a picture in your head, know where everybody is on the pitch, have a play on the half turn, have a little look first, but he didn't. He just didn't look, Glenn.
No, he's out of that La Masia Academy where they talk about field awareness, from start to finish, And well, it can, like you said, it can happen to the best of us. Now, the fact that the New York City couldn't hold on to the 2-1 lead, and talked about the 11 minutes. Well, in the 10th minute of the 11. That's when Segovia knotted it up. Messi had both assists for Inter Miami. So I asked Pascal Janssen at my one-on-one, which you'll hear in its entirety on the network beginning at 7:15. That's local time, 10:15 back at home, Eastern time, NYCFC.com/radio. But here's Pascal addressing 11 versus 10, which is a mighty nice advantage, in particular when a 37-year-old and a 38-year-old aren't running around too much without the ball.
What would you like to have seen different in possession? Mm-hmm. Because Miami out of possession, you take a guy like Suarez and a guy like Messi, they're not moving a lot.
Yeah.
So the numbers seem to be so great in that situation to be able to control the game.
Yeah, on point. This was a big part of our conversation earlier this week.
So it's a bigger shape? Is it just greater awareness? Or is it more like we're playing against Messi and we're back on our heels?
If I look back at that game, maybe we were just a little bit too, I wouldn't use the word stress, but a little bit too much tension in the body to realize where the possibilities are as well. So we missed moments going in behind. If I show you the video, you'll be surprised how many moments there were, but also the availability of our guys in the midfield. And that was an interesting conversation because we're trying to get a process going that guys like Johnny, Pepe, Keats, and Justin are available in the middle at all times, and that was not the case. So the options were far less than they should have been.
So it's Hack and Parks starting in the midfield. So one thing to look for, Matty, is for them to make a greater effort to get the ball off of the whether it's the central defenders or Matty Freeze in goal or the fullbacks. They're looking to get on the ball and maybe make the game a little bit more. That's what the coach seems to want.
Absolutely. And on the night, I think we said it as well, and certainly a phrase that many a coach would say to me, maybe not me as a clogging centre half, but the centre midfielders, it would be brave. be brave,
absolutely,
have a desire to get on the ball. And I think we saw too many players maybe not meaning to hide, but they did hide. In their minds, they hid on that field against Inter Miami. You said it, playing against 10 men, one of them being Messi, who's 37, who only runs when his team's in possession. The other one, a 38-year-old Suarez, who's slightly overweight and just can't move a great deal. If you make that pitch big, you make it long and you make it broad, it should have been very simplistic to have a keep ball game there. But we cannot forget, Inter Miami had 60% possession, Glenn. That's absolutely sacrilegious when they only had 10 men, and 2 of those 10 men don't really run around when they don't have the ball. It was just, for me, a lack of confidence and a lack of bravery from NYCFC in those latter stages of the game.
And they're meeting a team here, LAFC. They're more in that 40% possession from a year ago. Counterattack, you've got a guy like Boanga up top. But now you have Giroud. Giroud's on the bench tonight. Jeremy Abobasi will get his second consecutive MLS start. It's been Giroud starting both the CONCACAF Champions Cup games against Colorado, where LAFC advanced to the round of 16. But Steve Cherundolo, the head coach, has said quite frequently that they're trying to hold on to the ball a little bit more. And I think that makes sense from the standpoint that Giroud will be more involved in the game if they can keep the ball and set him up. But here from preseason now, this is before things got really kicked off, but close to when they were going to play their first CCC game. Here's Steve Cherundolo with me in preseason talking about Giroud.
You have maybe a primary objective. I don't know if I'm overstating it. Olivier Giroud, who came in the summer, was unable to score in MLS regular season play or the postseason. And I would think one of your main objectives would be to sort out how he can best contribute to your current side.
Yeah, it's not just one player. So we're concerned with winning games and scoring goals as an organization. We're happy for everyone to share the load. That is just fine. But if Olivier can get a few goals as well as our 9, we have nothing against that. And traditionally, players who come to the MLS after a long European season and long careers, it takes them a good 6 months to adapt. Right. And that is perfectly normal. And what I've seen so far in preseason has been a much livelier, joyful, and prolific Olivier Giroud.
Do you feel like, though, that you've, when you looked into this season and having a player like that you had to make any adjustments tactically to the overall?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. I mean, the guy is not that far removed from 15 goals, 8 assists for Milan, so we know he still has it.
He certainly does. And again, what I've seen so far in preseason this year, I think it's fair to expect that. And he expects that from himself. And so we're doing a great job as a group so far, to put him in positions to score, because that's what he does best. And I'm sure you'll see plenty of goals from him this season.
I saw Ricardo Pepi just scored the near post recently in a match for PSV. And the first thing I thought of was that's a Giroud goal.
There's no secret why goals are scored in the golden zone, which is the 6-yard box, and it's usually in the near post area between the 6 and the penalty spot. And it's the most vulnerable areas for defenses. It's almost impossible for a keeper to save, to react, and all good goal scorers make that first run. And it's those are easy goals. Those are the goals that keep your stats up every year as a number 9 or a goal scorer. And that's a run we certainly expect from our attackers too.
So that's Steve Cherundolo. I would imagine there's at least a slight adjustment when Giroud is out there. By the way, I hope we get a chance to see him play today. He's on the bench, and he and Hugo Lloris, who is the starting goalkeeper for LAFC and has had quite a record since he's come here, they played 116 games together for France, which is really remarkable. And so wonderful to get a chance to see these guys close up. Fortunate for me, I was able to be very close in preseason to both of them and watch them. And Giroud, he looks fit. I mean, he looks fit, but he's 38 years old, and then you start saying, well, how long could he go?
He's an absolute specimen, isn't he? That's for certain if you're just looking at him. But sometimes at a certain age, your body goes, your leg go a little bit. You can look as great as anything. I'm sure he looks fantastic around the swimming pool, but does he look fantastic around the 18-yard box?
Right.
That's the question.
Well, sure, that's right.
And as I say, I know I was lucky enough to play till I was 37, 38. And it can happen almost overnight that your legs go. And you said it to Steve Cherundolo. Yes, he scored 15 goals and 8 assists against AC Milan just before he came to LAFC. But he didn't look like that last season when he was playing for LAFC.
Well,
and so far it hasn't shown in the Champions Cup.
Not yet. Well, we should be clear. In 708 minutes of play in MLS regular season for LAFC, he has not scored a goal, which, considering his goal-scoring record, that's well below par. So, New York City certainly hoping that he doesn't open it up tonight on the MLS side. But that's at least somewhat alarming.
Yeah, it's very alarming, and Steve Cherundolo obviously is going to talk it down and tell you that he's going to be fantastic. He's also going to tell you that his team doesn't play differently when Giroud's in it, but of course it does. Giroud is a decade older than Jeremy Boumaier when he plays, so he will run into the channels, and Giroud wants to hold the ball up. They're totally different centre forwards, so the game has to change.
One matchup that's going to be mighty interesting, I would expect, on the left side of the attack is Denny Boanga, who is one of the most exciting players, if not the most thrilling players to watch in MLS. He's dynamic. He could score. He can set up teammates. So he plays on the left wing predominantly. And the fullback who will start on that side, which we would have predicted, is one of the best defenders in the league, Tavon Gray. Now, I pulled this just for you, Matty, because I wanted to hear our boy from the Bronx, Tavon Gray. He's a confident young man. So in preseason, New York City played San Diego, the expansion side, who have Chucky Lozano, who, played. It was a 3-1 win for New York City. And Lozano really didn't do much in the game. Tavon kind of put the clamps on him, and that's how I started my question with Tavon Gray after the game.
I don't know what to say. I feel like I don't got a name for me to come out and play. I feel like whoever's on left wing I'm coming to play, so it don't really matter who it is, really.
Well, he didn't get much today.
That's what comes with playing against me, I guess. It's my day.
Okay. I said he didn't get much off of you, and he goes, that's what happens when you play against me. So I like that. So he doesn't mind who he's playing against either, because part of my question was, hey, Chucky Lozano, international star for Mexico, yada yada yada.
To become a professional athlete of any sport, you have to have a certain level of arrogance about you to get to this level, and certainly Tavon Gray can be arrogant about his defensive attributes. I think that he sometimes gets undone by his confidence, his arrogance when he's on the ball. He sometimes thinks that he's a player that he's not, and will try and spray a 50-yard ball with his left foot, which he's not overly capable of too many times. But one-on-one, defensively, Tavon Gray is one of the best in MLS. I'm not going to say he's the best, but he's without a shadow of a doubt one of the best one-on-one defenders. It doesn't surprise me at all that Chucky Lozano didn't get a look in against him. Of course, that was only in pre-season, but we've seen Tavon do it against very good players in the regular season as well. This is a real challenge, though, up against Boanga. Boanga's got 20 goals in each of his last 2 seasons.
Yeah, and there aren't many players that have done that. Villa is one of 3 others that have done it. David Villa for
2
20-goal
seasons and an 11 assists and 7 assists respectively as well in the 24 and 23 seasons. Yeah. The guy's got talent, that's for certain. He's somebody who's at his peak as well now. I think he's about 30 years of age and pretty much at his peak. LAFC do things differently to NYCFC. LAFC get players at their peak. NYCFC try to develop players towards their peak to sell them on. The business models are totally different. They're totally contrasting, Greg.
And that's one reason Pascal Janssen has joined the fray, apparently. That's part of what David Lee said in his initial presser in 2025 as to why he chose Pascal Janssen, and the club agreed his ability to develop the younger players, and when they leave, to develop the next crew that comes in and still have a top 4 level of fitting into the Eastern Conference standings. That remains to be seen. a tie in the opener. New York City is trying to break a streak of 4 consecutive years where they have failed to get a win in either of their first 2 matches. But since 2018, as we close, 2 of the top teams in MLS squaring off. LAFC is number 1 in points. This is since 2018. Number 1 in points, wins, and goals scored. New York City, 4th overall in MLS points and wins, and 3rd in goals scored. So maybe we can get, based on that, maybe we get a thrilling match here tonight. We want lots of goals. How about that? It's all going to be live commentary. We hope you'll sync the video with our audio on the network, nycfc.com/radio. For myself and Matty, it starts at 7:15. That's in about 5 minutes. That's local time, 10:15 Eastern time, with head coach Pascal Janssen. So for Matty, I'm Glenn. Thanks for being with us. Enjoy the game, everybody.